because everything has gone up, the cost has gone up, the VAT and the taxes have come up. So it's important that we have a certain yield return on investment that we do.
The locals patronizing hotels a lot these days, or is that also dropping?
We see a certain slowness in the domestic travel coming to hotels due to the certain economic conditions in the country. There are no restrictions on fuel at so therefore you can't say full. But I think the economic restrictions we see a certain slowdown of domestic travel that we used to have.
We see a lot of the backpackers coming to Sri Lanka trying to spend less, look for cheaper accommodation and travel around the country using even public transport and so on.
A lot of discussion around this. So how it works is generally we say tourism needs to be a purpose-driven tourism, which means the purpose of tourism is foreign exchange revenue, and we need to get that in.
Kadua and Unawatuna areas that are patronized a lot by tourists, right? Foreign tourists, even locals as well. Parties are held a lot there, and these areas, like you said, these areas don't seem to have been developed well enough.
Places like Hikadua, Unawatuna, and Hirikatia, Mirissa, some of the beach components of the country are basically not really planned developments. There are a lot of environment areas that needs to be looked at it. There are in terms of their disposal of garbage, things like that, environment impact. All those will have to be evaluated.
Hello and welcome to another episode of On Fire here on Daily Mirror. I'm Easwaran Rutnam. A lot of focus now is on the tourism industry in Sri Lanka. Is the industry improving? How are things looking right now since the economic crisis and of course all that happened in between? To discuss the state of tourism in the country is Dileep Mudadeniya, Senior Vice President, Global Alliances and Partnerships at John Keells Leisure and Head of Corporate Affairs at John Keells Group. Dileep, welcome to the program.
Thank you, Ram. Thanks for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
So what is the status? I mean, you're a tourism expert. You're involved a lot in the tourism industry and, of course, the hotel industry as well overall. What is the status of tourism in Sri Lanka right now, in your opinion?
Yeah. So I think the tourism industry went through an extremely challenging period, which we have never seen in the past, starting from 2019 back to back, starting with the Easter attack in 2019, and then went to COVID in 2020. And then this is the only year when the Easter attack struck us, it was actually around 2.2 million arrivals. We've got the best year of tourism, and since then the numbers actually came down for reasons beyond anyone's control. And then 2023 we see a certain revival of that pattern compared to previous years. So most something like 1.2-1.3 million tourists, which is about 800,000 to 900,000 less than the best year of tourism in the country. But it's the signs are encouraging. And we see there's a natural demand, organic demand that's coming in, and people like to travel to Sri Lanka, etc. So that we see a certain revival from various markets that coming into Sri Lanka. So we hope 2024 would be the year that we will actually catch up and then recover what we lost in 2022, even up to that level. Occupancies are concerned and the number of arrivals are concerned. But having said that, the industry is also going through a lot of challenges because our 4 years of closure of certain hotels, lack of arrivals, need a certain capital injection to a lot of properties in order to bring it up to the standards. They need working capital, and there are certain moratoriums in place, but it needs to be relooked at it in order to give a certain push to the industry. so that number of properties will come back into the market in order to cater to these numbers that are coming in.
Yeah, we still see some countries maintaining travel advisories on Sri Lanka as a result of the protests that we have been seeing even after June, July last year. Is that having a negative impact on the attempts to recover for tourism industry?
Yeah. So basically, I mean, travel advisories are a common factor, but what we don't have now is travel warnings. So when the travel warnings are in place, it's difficult for tour operators and people to come into the country. The insurance schemes won't apply, etc. So now we have passed that stage since they have seen a actual change in the ground situation when it comes to security, when it comes to there are no queues and petrol. There's no issue at the moment. There are no issues in terms of the rations in the hotels and all that. So therefore, the people don't have this. I would say there's a very low impact in some of the statements, in some of the advisories that are currently in place. So all are actually which in the more travel, they can easily travel, and then this destination has been endorsed as a destination which they can easily visit. So I would say the current, even though there are certain things that are mentioned in the advisories, it will have it has a direct major impact, high impact against travel into Sri Lanka.
What more do you think that the authorities need to do to assist the industry? We spoke earlier about moratorium, but we still see small-scale hotels, resort operators, and all saying that they are still finding it difficult. They need more assistance from the government. Is that something that you would also echo?
Yeah, obviously, I mean, most governments around the world give a hand to the tourism industry when they go through a certain trouble period. Of course, we need to understand the limitation of the government, also the limited funds which they have. I think for me, the first one is the demand drive. So we need to have a consistent campaign, consistent demand generation for Sri Lanka. When that happens, when the tourist starts coming in, that can be actually in large number. That can be the answer for many questions, because when there's a steady cash flow coming in, them to the money will be circulating, and they'll have arrivals that we recorded. People actually start putting money, improving their product because they had a steady cash flow. I think the number one should be there should be a consistent campaign, which is very target markets that we have identified and launched that aggressively.
What are these markets that you all have identified? Is it like India, China, or you're looking beyond that as well?
So currently, I mean, we have to deal with the traditional markets like UK, Germany, France, Russia, then India, China, Australia, and also the Scandinavian markets. And those are the main markets, and Dubai. So those are the key markets that look like this. So you have combination of the European, which is this winter market from December to April. And then you also have the off-season market that has to come in so that it can fill the entire destination in almost all areas of the country.
Are you expecting large volumes of arrivals come the winter season?
The expectation is such that the arrivals, basically currently we are touching around 100,000 per month approximately. And some months have gone to 125,000. So this 125,000, if they can go up to 200,000, then that's where the maximum capacity that we have seen in the past. So expectation is that this number 125 will at least get closer or touch the magic number around 200,000, which will allow us to get into the 2.2 million target that we had before. Having said that, it will come also through some challenges because we don't have the same capacity that we used to have. Most probably that has to be basically open up, and certain infrastructure needs to be improved, etc. So it's a chicken and egg situation. You can't improve infrastructure without the tourists. Without the tourists, you can't improve the infrastructure. So it's other way. So most probably what will happen is in most destinations, what we have seen is along with the arrivals, little by little, the infrastructure will get improved, especially by the private sector. And the facilities will also start improving. New things will come to the market. So it's a gradual process. And also, we'll have to look at the pricing strategy that we have as well, so that you get a better yield from the tourist that comes in. The yield currently is very low, and that needs to change in order to invest or at least build anything, any hotels, etc. So the current yield will have to improve, so that also we can pay our employees also much better. So that also will have to be taken care of. And sometimes the demand and supply will adjust these things to some extent.
So when you say the pricing structure, you're saying that there is inconsistency in the pricing, is it?
So what happens is, in terms of the perception which the world has, Sri Lanka has a certain price. So at least more than 55 to 60% our rooms are below 3-star category. So Sri Lanka pricing is not extremely an expensive destination. It goes as a mediocre or a not very expensive destination to some extent. So we need to ensure that we have a certain premium that we have to charge. It doesn't have to be an accommodation 5-star level all the time, but the amounts that we are charging needs to improve. That some actually can compare to Thailand, saying that our cultural sites are more expensive and hotels are more expensive, but Thailand is a different ball game altogether. It's a large scale, 30 million numbers. When you have about 2 million, we can actually go into a more niche and a slightly improved yield in the tourist earnings that comes in, because everything has gone up, the cost has gone up, the VAT and the taxes have come up. So it's important that we have a certain yield return on investment that we do comes in. So our ARRs will have to improve current rate from 70s to 80s to, if they can go up to 130 and 140, then things will actually start changing a lot. You'll see from product wise, service wise, and also ability to entertain people from overseas. Our own people who have gone overseas, we can actually get them back and pay them decent salaries.
And how is the local tourism market? Do you see locals patronizing hotels a lot these days, or is that also dropping?
Locals have been patronizing the hotels right throughout. Of course, the certain hotel prices have gone up because of the VAT and other things in the recent past, but they come in mainly on weekends. And also there are a lot of corporate visits also coming in from hotels, but that's normally in 3 to 4 or 5-star hotel category. That component is around 20%, which is significant, and we continue to attract. There are we see a certain slowness in the domestic travel coming to hotels. Due to the certain economic conditions in the country. There are no restrictions on full so therefore you can't say full, but I think the economic restrictions, we see a certain slowdown of domestic travel that we used to have.
And we are seeing reports of new hotels coming up in the country. Do you think that it's a bit, the simple word, too much? Too many hotels now? Can we fill these hotels even by 2024?
Well, this comes in waves, See, at the moment, with the surge of arrivals in 2010, 11, and after the end of civil conflict in the country, you see the large number of hotels investors came and start building hotels. Now, building hotel may take about 2 years to 4 years or 5 years. So you see those numbers came in 2015, 16, and then you saw all of a sudden the tourist arrivals were not sufficient. And then it slowed down the process. So building a hotel in Sri Lanka would take easily, with the approvals and all that, 3 to 4 years. So then you see in 2016, 17 time, you're slowing down of all the new projects that came in. You didn't see the same number that you saw before 2016, 17, after 2017. So, and then the COVID hit and a lot of people moved away from the investments, etc. So even though there is a bit of a slowness in terms of new projects, but it's very encouraging to see that a lot of investors are coming back, and some of the investors from overseas also coming and starting new properties and new projects, but not to the level that we had pre-2016. So this would basically again a cycle that will come in. We see another 2 more cycles in Sri Lanka where the arrivals picked up. When the occupancies go up and the ARRs improve, you see another wave of building hotels. So once a hotel is built, you can't do it for anything else. You have to keep it, and they'll be in tourism. That's why I say once you're in tourism, you're always in tourism. So it will be in the plant, and they'll somehow survive, and we'll have to help all the industry members in achieving that. So that's how it works. So currently, I would say there is in terms of the new projects, the larger projects are low. There are a lot of small projects. But larger hotel projects are the less in terms of numbers, but it will start coming in once the arrival improves, and also the ARRs and the yield improves within a couple of seasons, which we're expecting to happen.
I also wanted to ask you about backpackers. I know some time back some of the authorities were trying to discourage backpackers, or I mean, not put too much focus on them, saying that they are not bringing in the sort of revenue that Sri Lanka needs. But yet still we see a lot of these backpackers coming to Sri Lanka trying to spend less, look for cheaper accommodation and travel around the country using even public transport and so on. Is this an important sector for us, or is this something that the tourism industry would want to discourage?
So there's a global debate on this, right? It's not only Sri Lanka. If you look at recently, the Bali has announced that they want to revive their tourism segments and look at a more affluent traveler coming in. Then the Bangkok mentioned the same thing. Then Amsterdam actually mentioned we don't want any cheap British tourists to Amsterdam coming in. So they made an open statement around it. So there's a lot of discussion around this. So how it works is generally we say tourism needs to be a purpose-driven tourism, which means the purpose of tourism is foreign exchange revenue, and we need to get that in. But in countries like Sri Lanka, where the product is predominantly have a large offering of below 3-star, the guest houses and so many accommodation, it's a mixed product that we have. We don't have completely a product like Costa Rica or Maldives. So Maldives also has certain guest houses, but predominantly upmarket tourism coming in. So as a result, the drawing of certain segment is inevitable. So there are pluses and minuses in this. The plus is basically, first of all, some of these backpackers, which are predominantly young age, etc., they discover the destination and they have a tendency of coming back when they are doing influential jobs, etc., coming in. So they are becoming. There's so many cases like that, and then they actually spread the message, and they also and as a result get a positive image. Second one is some of these people are very good digital content creators. Some of the content that they create actually can go viral, and they give a very positive endorsement of the country as well. The third positive one, which I see, is also these numbers, because the places they are staying, etc., has a direct impact to the what we call the back linkages of the economy, where these dollars are going directly into the community. So that's the community touches that tourism dollars through these people in coming in, because there goes to the shop on the road, they'll just go and buy something on the road, they'll stay in guest houses where the community is running it, etc. So those are basically things which basically some argue for. The against component is the overall yield that they bring to the tourism, to the industry. Some actually have seen staying in $10 places, and which is basically their stay can be subsidized by the government, because we know the road network, the electricity, water, all that are subsidized by the government to a great extent. So we don't want them to come and basically tourists to be in places where subsidy is given and then get an advantage of that. So that's why the yield needs to be improved overall. So this cannot be an overnight change. It needs to be through a policy. We need to create a little bit more zones that actually can be exclusive, create more experiential element into that. Even if the backpackers come in, can we create a more experiential tourism so that we can get a higher income from them? So those are things that needs to come in, but it won't be an overnight change. It has to be a gradual change. What happened in the country is after Bentota Beach, rest of the places are more haphazard development that has taken place. If you look at Bentota Beach area, the whole Bentota stretch, which is managed by the Sri Lanka Tourism, this is what we call planned development. Right, all the hotels have been properly planned, laid out, and there's common areas. The beach is also taken care of, etc. But if you look at places like Hikkaduwa, Unawatuna, and Hirikatia, Mirissa, some of the beach components of the country are basically not really planned developments. There are a lot of environment areas that needs to look at it. They are in terms of their disposal of garbage, things like that, environment impact. All those will have to be evaluated. So these are things that we need to look at it in detail when you're planning of a master plan or something similar.
Yeah, and Hikkaduwa and Unawatuna are areas that are patronized a lot by tourists, right? Foreign tourists, even locals as well. parties are held a lot there. And these areas, yeah, I mean, like you said, these areas don't seem to have been developed well enough.
Yeah, the thing is, it's basically before the guidelines were introduced and with the tourism boost, the overnight, lot of places became tourism accommodation units. So now it's difficult to go back and change. Informal sector have moved in. So, I mean, most destinations in South Asia and Southeast Asia, the informal sector has a significant component in tourism, maybe Thailand, Malaysia, India, even to some extent now in Maldives as well, it's coming up. So it's inevitable. That's part of the economy. But we need to manage that in a better way. That's why we said, destination positioning campaigns are where the country is. And if you really look at it, our main attractions like Cultural Triangle, Sigiri, only 28% of the arrivals goes there. Kandy is about 29%, and then national parks less than 16%. People go there. So if you look at the real attractions, etc., there are less number of people, which means Sri Lanka is continue to be sea, sun, and sand destination, which are attracting. And then of course Allah, there's another demand coming in, people go there. So hiking and adventure type of it. So we'll have to basically positioning of the destination will have to be more aggressive, and then ensure that we have proper marketing happening in those countries, so that could be one solution that we can provide.
Are city hotels taking a hit as a result of people focusing more on the south, or like you said, the sun, sea, and sand? Is this impacting hotels in the city?
So the cities, mostly the segments are slightly different. They are more like Indian-based conference and MICE, and well as business traffic coming in. So as a result, see a certain gradual increase in the city business, and also we see a big increase in terms of the events and the weddings, which is predominantly by the local corporates and the local citizen. That gives you an F&B revenue has gone up in almost all areas in city hotels. So these are actually a local impact. But apart from that, we see a gradual increase from the Indian market also. So occupancy is around 50 to 60%, but it can improve. So I believe that, with recent campaigns and marketing that are being basically planned for India by Sri Lanka Tourism, etc., and the industry collectively, that we have planned few things with few companies, and that should really give some results and improve overall the Indian arrivals to the country, which will be a solution for the city tourism.
Right. And you, of course, are part of a major hotel group. How are your plans going? I mean, is Cinnamon Hotels and Resorts, are their plans progressing as scheduled?
So we have two major projects. So one is, of course, Kandy's Cinnamon Red, which is coming up, which is supposed to be probably next year. The other one is the Cinnamon Life, which is the largest, which will basically change the landscape of the country, which is expected to open next year, end of next year, towards December. And we have completed the 2 towers, accommodation towers, apartment towers, and that's been handed over. We also have completed the office tower, which has about 30 floors, that is also completed. And the next is actually the entire hotel, which is 800-room hotel, the mall, etc., coming up. So that's, we are expecting the hotel to be commercially operated by next year and end of next year, which will basically change the landscape. The large number of conferences can be obtained. We have a lot of event space there, and it will be like a state-of-the-art and a brand new hotel coming to the city. And most often when such properties comes to the city, we actually go and enlarge the pie, enabling large number of conferences and MICE events to be held in Sri Lanka.
Right. So we'll have to leave it at that. Dileep, thank you so much for taking time and for joining us on this virtual discussion on fire on regards to the tourism industry.
It's a pleasure to be part of the program, and all the best for you.
All the best to you too. And that's all the time we have for you for On Fire for this week. Until next time, stay safe.